Hello everyone, Forest Focus, Nottingham Forest face an already relegated Leicester City on Sunday. Will Forest pick up the win they desperately want, or will Leicester shatter their Champions League hopes? Joining to give us the opposition view this week is a Foxes fan, a former colleague of mine, and a lovely chap in James Sharpe. James, good to see you. How are you doing?
I'm good, Matt. My God, how are you?
I'm good. It's good to catch up. We had a nice chat before recording, but yeah, good to see you again. Good to see you again. It's interesting. We're going to have a chat about a pretty terrible season for your team. I mean, where's it gone wrong? It's obviously not just this season. Is it a 5-year deterioration or what?
Yeah, I was going to say, how long have you got, really? Because I think this is, as was the relegation 2 seasons ago, it's the culmination of quite a few years of mismanagement and wrong decisions, and going from the club that everyone heralded as being the example of how to run a middle-sized, non-elite club. Leicester were heralded as being the bastions of how to do it, punching above their weight. Obviously, the title win, but beyond that, the FA Cup, 2 fifth-place finishes. All of that played into this story of Leicester being the way to do it. And since that FA Cup win, most of the decisions they've got have been wrong, whether that's not sacking Brendan managers quickly enough, leaving it too late, appointing not appointing a replacement for 2 crucial games, losing them, bringing in Dean Smith later on, that being too late, them going down, obviously coming straight back up, but then losing Maresca, and I'm sure we'll talk about it, Steve Cooper, Ruud van Nistelrooy, big contracts to players, signing more older heads. There's so many things have happened that have led to this. It's not one. It has been a disastrous season, but it's a disastrous season on the back of a long spell of mismanagement and poor decisions.
So with the Forest hat on, we're sort of in that position where we're entering into Europe. Are Leicester a bit of a cautionary tale in terms of, the wage bill got a bit mad. You stopped selling players at the right time. I'm thinking of Tielemans and Soyuncu going away. Is it a cautionary tale for Forest to actually stick to the plan and you'd probably be all right in the long term rather than rolling the dice?
Yeah, I think Leicester believe their own hype is the wrong way of putting it, but when they get into the point where they're forget the title win, because that even for them wasn't something that was expected. They had planned to build themselves into a Premier League team that could compete for Europe. So when they got to the point under Rodgers where they were in the top 4 longer than any club in the Premier League over 2 seasons, more than City, Liverpool, they spent more time in the top 4 than anyone else, but failed to do it twice. At that time, with Rodgers there, a feeling grew really that this is kind of where we belong. And if we belong here, then we should be paying the money that teams do around here because that's the club we are now. Leicester aren't that kind of club. They don't come from old money, as we call it over here, isn't it? Is that if they start getting things wrong, the foundations of the size of that club aren't strong enough to, as they have been with like United in the past or other big clubs who make wrong decisions. They have the money and the historical kind of gravitas to it not really affect them, whereas Leicester didn't have that. And as you said, they went away from selling a big player every season, whether it be Kante or Drinkwater or Chilwell or Maguire, and reinvesting that. They went away from that and gave lots of big contracts out. And then when a few things start going wrong and it starts to do that, the foundations that you've built previously aren't there anymore. So it all kind of unravels very quickly. So I think, watching how Leicester did it and then stopped doing it is a good example to Forest, I think.
Let's talk a bit more about this season specifically then. You started off under the Steve Cooper's management. Did you feel that was doomed to failure or did you ever see him succeeding?
I think the issue start a little bit before Steve coming in, where Leicester are kind of building for the summer with Enzo Maresca and then losing him. So they cancelled a trip to the States basically on the desires of Maresca. And then Maresca suddenly goes to Chelsea. And then their pre-season plans and recruitment plans and everything's thrown out the window a little bit. So that put them on a bit of a shaky footing. And then appointing Cooper, which is it's an interesting one when you look at it now through the glasses of how poorly Van Nistelrooy's done, as to whether Cooper should have been given more time. But from the beginning, the fit never really felt like a good fit. I know there's always the kind of the Forest connections, which a little bit was made of that, but I don't think that was the real kind of downfall of Cooper. I think that the fact they went from like free passing, tip tap football under Maresca to then going to a very pragmatic way of playing under Cooper was a difficult transition for the fans to make, a very difficult transition for the players to make. The players didn't connect with Cooper really at all. The fans never did. So it was always felt like it was on a hiding to nothing. And it always felt like it was going to end badly. I do think how badly Van Nistelrooy has done, while it does boost Cooper's stock a little bit, I do think it glosses over the fact that they were also really bad under Cooper. I know they were only 16th, but there was, if you look underneath the bonnet, Leicester's goalkeeper was keeping them in a lot of games. They were conceding a lot of shots. They kind of got away with a few decisions here and there in that brief run of games. You didn't see. You saw enough. You saw more than Van Nistelrooy in terms of giving them maybe a hope of surviving, but you didn't see enough from that period to go, oh, they'll definitely stay up. They'll definitely stay up. They'll be fine. Had they stayed with Cooper, they'd have survived. They'd have sort of better chance of surviving than under Van Nistelrooy, but I don't know whether the end result would have been different.
How much blame do you attach to the players? I think of, there was a lot of talk about not connecting with Cooper. There was the Copenhagen party thing, Vestergaard bringing his dog to training, Harry Winks not travelling, reportedly as well. The players, are they massively culpable for all this as well?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the Copenhagen one of them being filmed with a sign saying "Enzo, I miss you." I mean, yeah, players are allowed to go out and have fun when they're not playing, and I think sometimes we do expect them to be less than human sometimes. However, in this case, if you're out at a party and someone is holding a sign with the name of your former manager on saying that I miss you, like what kind of message does that give? And it showed really that just how poor the connection between Cooper and the players were. So many of those players were Maresca men, like Harry Winks especially. He was crucial to how Maresca liked to play football. He would be the one that would collect the ball from the defence and be the kind of quarterback player. He was so crucial to how Maresca wanted to play football. When you're now playing a different style of football to Maresca, those players don't really match the system. So yeah, that's been poor. Everyone is culpable, from the pitch to the stands, and when you get it so wrong so often and so badly, you can't be surprised when this is how it ends up.
How many Premier League players do you think they've actually got in that team as well? Out of curiosity, because there's going to be clubs looking at them next season. Are there any worthy of keeping their place in the Premier League?
I think the big examples will be at both ends of the pitch. So Mads Hermansen, I think, would be the one who would be the most likely to gain or get some money for. Very good. I think Leicester thought that Enzo Maresca would sign him last summer. because Hermansen was Enzo's first transfer target priority. When he came in, he was like, "This is the player I want. This is the goalkeeper I want for the way I play. He's my number one priority." So I think there was a bit of a expectation that he would just follow Maresca to Chelsea, but that didn't materialise. Whether he follows again this summer, I don't know. But he is one who I think is good enough to play at that level if teams come in for him. The other one who is still good enough to play at that level, despite breaking all of our hearts and leaving at the end of the season, is Vardy. I know he's nearly 40. I know he's not got the zip of old. I know he can't run the channels minute after minute like he used to. But he has shown this season, and he showed at the weekend against Southampton, and yes, it's only Southampton, but his technique for his finish, his movement, he still can offer something at the top level. He can still, maybe not from the start for teams, but maybe as an impact. He's still got the ability in there, the know-how, the kind of ability to make runs, to do it at the top level. It'd be interesting to see if there are any Premier League clubs that come in for him, because I do think he can still cut it. Other than that, though, that's the problem. Like Wilfred Ndidi in the past, you'd have said, but age isn't on his side. Nowhere in that defence. If your first choice centre backs are Yannick Vestergaard, Wout Faes, and Conor Cody, you don't stand much chance of surviving the Premier League. And I don't see many teams coming in for them at all. Oliver Skipp, Premier League experience, but hasn't really done much since moving. I think Leicester will look at those kind of players and think they're more likely the kind of players that might get us out of the Championship than move on and join a Premier League club.
Well, which leads into my next question in terms of will they be back? I suppose there's some context around that, which I don't know the ins and outs of around. Will the EFL finally get to throw the book at them in terms of PSR and all that? They've got to be accountable somewhere, surely. But will Leicester come back next season or not?
That's the worry, is that you look through that team and you don't, with Vardy going, and you look at that team and you go, is there enough, one, quality and two, leadership to bounce back immediately? They got, lucky's maybe the wrong word with Maresca. They landed on a manager. They made a good decision there to find a manager who would be able to get them back up. I think I was worried watching him this season and seeing how bad it is going behind the scenes and the kind of lack of unity and kind of alignment in thinking behind the scenes, worried that they would not bounce straight back, and you'd be more concerned about, are you going to keep going through the leagues than bouncing straight back? So that was a worry. But then I was watching at the King Power Stadium before the game. They'd got all the final day championship stuff on the TV screens, and watching it and watching some of the highlights of the kind of goals going in, you tend to forget how big the gulf is between the two. And I was, after the game against Southampton, I was looking at the team and going, if Leicester can keep the likes of El Kanous, the likes of, if they can sign kind of Benanuote, if they can keep Mavididi and Fatawi on the wings, those are the kind of players who maybe don't have the kind of consistency to rip it up in the Premier League like you saw from the likes of Mahrez in the past. And I know he's maybe a bad example because he is a genius, but they're the players who in the Championship are good enough and skillful enough to rip it up. So I remember the first game of last season against Coventry, the first game of the season in the Championship, where had that game been in the Premier League, Leicester would have been 4-0 down at half-time and the game would have been over. I'd forgotten how many chances Championship strikers will miss. Mm. So I think there's enough players in there that makes me think they might be okay. Had Leicester played Leeds this season, Leeds would have beaten them, I think. If you watched how Leeds played, Burnley, I think, like those teams that have gone up into the Prem, I don't know. I think in that very tightly compact top half of the Championship. I don't know if Leicester are going to be. They'll probably be there or thereabouts. I don't see Leicester going straight back up and dominating the division like they did last season. Or season before, should I say.
Well, I'm sure Forest fans have enjoyed hearing about the demise of Leicester City for 15 minutes, but we will focus on this game now. Just before that, a word for the Trent Navigation. They have another post-match show coming up Sunday, straight after the game. You can get free entry, get your food there. It's an afternoon set as well. Barbecue, pizza kitchen, indoor and outdoor bars. It does say straight after Forest v Man City on that slide, but it's actually straight after Forest versus Leicester. Right. What chance do you give Leicester in this game then, considering, they've been awful, but they did win, and the sort of the shackles of knowing they're going to get relegated are off. Can you make a pitch for them or not?
I can make a pitch for them because relegation now confirmed. The pain of that felt. Everyone's known it's been coming. I was chatting to some Leicester fans outside the ground before the game, and one of them said, we couldn't wait for it to be confirmed. It's been an absolute blessing. So now that the relegation is done, they know their fate. They might not know their manager's fate, but now that is done, they have a few games now to say goodbye to their greatest ever player, in my opinion. So that is now the focus for the end of the season, is to give Vardy this farewell, wave him off into the distance. He's one goal away from 200 for the club. And chatting to Jordan Ayew after the game against Southampton, he was saying all the players are desperate to get him to 200. Every pass is going to go to him. Every move they're going to make is going to try to get Vardy to 200 goals. So they have now got something to play for, in a sense. They have got a target. So I think there will be a bit more of a kind of something to kind of get them going. So I can make a pitch of them in that respect. However, it did take one of the worst, or the currently joint worst Premier League football team of all time in Southampton to get Leicester a win. And I know Forest haven't been playing as well as they have been recently. They don't need to reach that high a level for Leicester to struggle. So, yeah, I think there's always a chance that, I know what you're going to say. You're going to say Leicester aren't a rival. We don't care about you. It's all about Derby, all of that stuff. And fine. It's us that care about you, not that you care about us. I get it. But because of that, I do think because of the Forest Leicester, there will be a bit of extra oomph, shall we say. But if Forest can play with the pace, if you can hit Leicester with any sort of pace, Leicester will struggle. Vestergaard, Faust, Cody, zero pace. If your players like Elanga can get in behind, Leicester will really, really struggle. Chris Wood has a very good record against Leicester. I think Leicester's fans will struggle against him. But yeah, I'd like to think I can make a pitch, and there'll be more on it. But you're better than us. A lot.
It didn't say much for Leicester's centre halves if you're saying they can't deal with pace and they can't deal with a physical threat either. Yeah, it's one or the other.
Yeah, true. And they can't deal with, they've proven this season that they can't deal with anything. But yes, I think more than Chris Wood, the pace of the likes of Elanga will be what really makes them struggle, because this is a team that, not just at the back, is packed with experience, shall we say. Like there was a run of games where they were playing Jordan Ayew and Bobby Cordova-Reid on both wings, and Leicester fans were furious about it because they've got younger players in there like El Khanous or Benanuate or Mabadidi who could give them a bit of kind of oomph, whereas they were just going for like old head experience where no pace, can't move the ball quickly, struggling to have legs defending. So yeah, that Leicester are very easy to get at if you have pace, which Forest do.
They do have attacking threats as well. You mentioned El Khanous and Buonanotte. Mark Southerns, who you will know from FPL, he filtered some chance creation data around Gibbs White, and El Khanous and Buonanotte both show up quite highly on it. I mean, yeah, are they going to start this game? Because they would worry me if both do.
I think El Khanous was the best player on the park against Southampton by a mile, and should start. And that's been the frustration with Van Nistelrooy a lot this season with Leicester fans, is that in a season of very little excitement, there seemed like there were players in there who, yes, might not be the most consistent, yes, might not be able to do the kind of diligent defensive work that other more experienced wingers can do. And I know that is really important in the Premier League. But in a team in a season that's lacking so much excitement, there was a real frustration that he wasn't giving these players the time. Buonanotte would come off the bench and just look really good. And you'd think, well, why is he not getting a game? And that was the same with El Khanous on Saturday, was excellent. And I think I would much prefer to see him playing, because I do think he can cause some problems. But there's been a reticence from Van Nistelrooy this season to play the exciting thrillers and be a little more safe and cautious. But now they've got nothing to be cautious about, have they? They're down. So if I were Van Nistelrooy, and I'm not, use these final few games to try and build some momentum, try and build some excitement, try and build some hope and some faith that next season isn't going to be another disaster season, that there is something that we can build around to go back up. And the likes of El Khanous are players who can do that. He should start the weekend. And if he does, then yes, he can cause them some problems.
And we'll just look beyond the weekend a little bit then. James works for the Mail on Sunday, and his beat, as well as a bit of Leicester City, is West Ham as well, who are our opponents after this. 2 games that we really feel we need to win. It's not much of a rosier picture for West Ham than it is for Leicester. Yeah. What chance do you give West Ham against us?
Yeah, I don't know what I've done in a former life to deserve professionally covering one and personally covering another. They are another example, a bit like Leicester, of this is what happens when you keep running a football club badly. You find yourselves in messes such as this. Whereas they've now had 3 managers in the space of 12 months, in Moyes and Lopetegui, now Potter. He's got an unbalanced aging squad that can't put in the physical demands that he wants them to. He said over the last previous games that they don't have the physical capacity or the mental capacity to see out games of football in the Premier League. It's why in the last 7 games they've dropped 8 points from goals they've conceded after the 88th minute in games. They're really quite mentally fragile, physically fragile in conceding those goals. Potter's not had the new manager bounce that a lot were hoping for, not like Pereira at Wolves, not like Moyes at Everton, because he's realised that he's got to overturn a very unbalanced ageing squad, and he needs the summer to do that. He also needs a bit of money to do that, and West Ham don't have that. They need to sell before they can buy. Potter keeps talking about how before he arrived, they were conceding more than 2 goals a game. He keeps saying it's 80 odd goals in 40 games before he arrived. So he's been working on stopping that. And he's done that to an extent, but that has come at the expense of any sort of attacking threat. I think it's just the relegated teams that have scored fewer goals and earned fewer points since Potter took over than West Ham, which he's already got a worse win percentage than Lopetegui, who was, even the club hierarchy now admit, a disastrous appointment. So things aren't rosy in the garden for Potter, and won't be until he gets his hands on that squad in the summer. So they are very much a team that you can get at, and they won't create much. Like Bowen is the one they turn to often. Like even Wan-Bissaka, who is built a career on being a defender who can't attack, is their most potent attacking force out wide. So he's playing in a wing-back role and doing it really well. He's surpassed my expectations. So he can bomb on. Him and Bowen are linking up quite well on that right-hand side. That is one of the very few bright sparks that we've seen from West Ham. So they are lucky that the promoted teams have been so bad. And they're also a bit lucky that Man United and Tottenham have been so bad as well, because it's taken the spotlight off West Ham a little bit, because they have had a really poor season. And I think for you guys who are really kind of desperate to get some points on the board for this top 5 finish, there are a few teams who you could be better playing than West Ham and Leicester.
Yeah, I've watched some West Ham games on TV. It's so boring. I mean, you must be wondering why you ever got into football as a kid, watching some of these games this season, to be honest.
It has been really bad. I mean, it is. I mean, I was quite. My match report at the weekend was basically said, "What a sorry excuse for a derby this is." Derbies, these are meant to be the games that kind of get us off our chairs, that kind of leave us drained of like passion and emotion because of how intense it is. And I know Tottenham had an excuse. They've got a big game. Well, this will be going out. That they had their big game on Thursday, which was like, of course they were going to rotate their team. Of course they weren't going to care about a game against West Ham when there's nothing left to play for in the Premier League. West Ham didn't have that excuse, and yet they still produced the same tepid, boring, uneventful, no chances taken really football. And it really is just some real dreary stuff. So they are there to be got at, and yeah, I think you'll be fine.
I hope so. Right, just before we wrap things up, just a word of thanks for our second sponsors, excuse me, for this episode, Peak Media Marketing. If you're looking to grow your business, attract new customers, climb those Google rankings, which myself and James will know all about because our old bosses used to drum that into us, get top of SEO. They are the people to help you. If you want to improve your social media branding, they can help you out with that as well. So find new customers, build your business with Peak Media Marketing. And to do that, the link is in the description at the end of this video. It is peakmediamarketing.co.uk/focus. Right, James, different world from what we used to do, or what you still do. We're doing writing, me blurting on ad with ad reads, but yeah, I think people like it.
Just put Manchester United in the headline.
That was it, wasn't it? Giving away trade secrets here. There was a point where in our old jobs where it was like, get as many Big Six clubs as you can into a headline, and then shoehorn Leicester City into it, and you'll fly on Google. Google's unsurprisingly got wise to that pretty quickly.
Yeah, former Manchester United target, and Liverpool and Arsenal and and then literally late at the end put and Leicester City or whatever. Just cram it with big names.
Exactly.
Doesn't matter what you write. Doesn't matter what's underneath it all. Just get it out there.
Yeah, that is depressing. We could have a whole conversation about media.
We did before we press record.
We did.
Put that on the extras.
Exactly.
Like a bonus episode or something.
Just before we let you go, feel free to plug anything you've got coming up work-wise. But we were chatting as well before we started. People know I play FPL too much. There's lots of people who listen and play FPL. If you want to plug your FPL podcast, do feel free to do that. But anything you want to promote, the floor is yours.
Yes, well, that'd be lovely. Yeah. So me and my colleague, we do an FPL podcast every week. It's called Fantasy Island, an FPL podcast. We've had the likes of Let's Talk FPL, and Praz of the FPL Wire on as former guests. It's fun. It takes FPL affects my mood more than anything else, which is really, really sad that I say this as a grown man, that FPL has such a huge impact on my emotion. But yes, we channel that on episode every week. Fantasy Island FPL. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts, and also on X, FPL Island Pod, and Instagram, Fantasy Island FPL. So that's FPL. Yeah, if you want to follow any of my kind of work stuff, I'm at the Sharp End on Twitter or X, and if you keep an eye out for my at the Sharp End column in the Mail on Sunday, looking at kind of key kind of tactics and statistical analysis of the key talking points in the game.
Lovely. I hit rock bottom in FPL during the winter break where we had a 2022 World Cup, I think it would have been. or whenever it was, and I just deleted the app. I had like 7 red arrows in a row and gone from really well placed to stinking up the whole joint. And then since then, I thought, this is silly. I'm going to be more zen about it. I've been pretty good at it generally. It does test your patience when your team looks amazing on paper, and then some guy who's forgot to update his team, doesn't change his captain and he'll score a hat trick or something like that. Guys,
so my co-host Alex, there's been a running gag in recent weeks that his mother-in-law, who only picks players based on how cute she thinks they are, that she just picks them on that. And she also picked, I can't remember who it is now, but she picked a striker who she thought was a striker that played for a bigger club that has the same name, but picked the wrong one. And until like recent weeks, she was just beating him in every mini league, even though he's like this keen FPLer. But now he's overtaken her since the blanks and the doubles and stuff. But no, I say it affects my mood. I think in recent years, when you come to realise so little of it is in your control, and you're basically just choosing some dice to roll, and you're just hoping that the dice land the way you want them to. I think you become to realise that there is little point in getting frustrated by it because you can't control it. And if you keep making good decisions, a bit like poker, really, if you keep making good decisions over time, you will have better finishes than other people will because you've made better decisions over time. In a short period, that can be very swingy, like wild things can happen. But in the long run, it should be the case that good decisions come out in the end, which is the same as which, to bring this back full circle, is a lesson that football clubs like Leicester should learn, and clubs like Forest should keep in mind when they're making their big decisions, when they are European giants once more.
Oh, what a note to end on. Lovely. We shall leave it there. We'll be back post-match after the game with our usual show. And then on Monday, we'll have a proper review and we'll take stock of wherever this Champions League journey is leading us. God, I hope we win. I'll be so gutted if we don't win this game. It'll be absolutely soul-destroying. In my head, it's got 3 points in it for weeks. And this is the game that will get us back on track. So please, Leicester, don't ruin my dreams.
It will be. You will be fine. I promise.
Thank you. Right. Thanks to James. Thanks for everyone's company. Do us a favour, hit like on this video if you haven't already. We very much appreciate that. Or do consider membership or Patreon. But if you don't, and if you don't join us on Monday, then no worries at all. And we shall see you soon.